The silver gate of the mansion slammed shut behind the trembling maid, and in that moment, a single decision changed two lives forever. Early that bright morning, sunlight poured through the tall glass windows of a luxurious mansion standing proudly on the quiet hills of the city. The house belonged to Adrian Cole, a powerful businessman known for his discipline, sharp mind, and enormous wealth. His success had earned him respect in the corporate world, but his heart had slowly grown distant from the struggles of ordinary people. To Adrian, life was simple. Rules must be followed, loyalty must be proven, and anyone who breaks trust must face the consequences. But that morning, something small yet shocking had happened inside his grand kitchen. One of his household staff, a young maid named Lila Moreno, had been caught quietly slipping leftover food into a small cloth bag. It wasn't expensive food. It was simply bread, rice, and a few pieces of fruit. Yet to Adrian, the act felt like betrayal. In his eyes, stealing was stealing, no matter how small the item was. Without listening to explanations, Adrian fired her immediately. Lila stood silently in the courtyard, her thin hands trembling as she held the small bag close to her chest. She tried to speak, but the words refused to come out. Within minutes, she was asked to leave the property. Adrian watched from the balcony as she walked away down the sunlit road, her figure slowly shrinking in the distance. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder of compassion, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel DRAMEXSTORY for more emotional stories that touch the heart. Inside the mansion, life quickly returned to normal. Servants continued their duties, the fountains in the garden sparkled under the afternoon sun, and business calls filled Adrian's schedule. But strangely, something about that moment stayed in his mind. The image of Lila's silent face kept returning again and again. It wasn't anger that bothered him, it was the absence of explanation. Lila had not argued, she had not defended herself, she had simply lowered her head and left. Hours later, curiosity and an uneasy feeling pushed Adrian toward an unusual decision. Instead of forgetting the incident, he grabbed his car keys and quietly drove out of the mansion gates. He wanted to see where she had gone. The wealthy neighborhood soon faded behind him. The clean roads slowly turned narrow and dusty. Tall buildings disappeared, replaced by crowded streets, small shops, and crumbling houses standing shoulder to shoulder. Adrian had rarely visited this part of the city. He finally spotted Lila walking down a narrow street under the bright afternoon sun. She looked exhausted, but she walked quickly, still holding the small cloth bag he had accused her of stealing. Adrian parked his car at a distance and followed quietly on foot. Lila turned into a poor neighborhood where broken houses leaned against each other like tired old men. Children played barefoot in the dust, and laundry hung across ropes between buildings. Then she stopped in front of a tiny, damaged house. The door creaked open, and what Adrian saw next made his chest tighten. Inside the small room sat 3 young children, their faces pale with hunger. Their clothes were worn and oversized. The moment they saw Lila, their eyes lit up with excitement. She quickly opened the cloth bag. The bread, rice, and fruit were carefully placed onto a small metal plate. The children gathered around it like it was the greatest treasure in the world. One of the boys looked weak, barely able to sit upright. Another little girl clutched Lila's arm with desperate affection. And then Adrian noticed something else. Lila didn't eat. Instead, she gently divided the food among the children, making sure each one received a small portion. Her movements were careful, loving, and patient. She even smiled softly as if trying to hide her own hunger. In that moment, Adrian's entire world seemed to collapse. The food she had taken wasn't for herself, it was for them. The realization struck him like a storm. This young woman he had fired without mercy had simply been trying to feed starving children. Tears slowly filled Adrian's eyes as he stood frozen outside the broken window. For the first time in many years, the powerful millionaire felt something he had long forgotten: shame. His luxurious mansion suddenly felt meaningless compared to the small room filled with quiet sacrifice and love. The children laughed softly as they ate the simple meal. To them, that little food meant survival for another day. Adrian covered his mouth as tears finally slipped down his face. He had everything. Yet somehow, he had been blind to the struggles of people living just a few miles away. At that moment, Adrian made a silent promise to himself. He would not allow this injustice to continue. Before we reach the end of this emotional story, take a moment to comment the word kindness if you believe small acts of compassion can change the world. Adrian slowly walked toward the door and knocked. Lila opened it, surprised to see him standing there. Fear immediately appeared on her face, as if she expected more punishment. But instead, Adrian lowered his head. For the first time in years, the powerful businessman apologized. That day did not simply change Lila's life. It transformed Adrian's heart. He rehired her with a higher salary, ensured the children had food, education, and medical care, and later created a charity foundation to help struggling families across the city. Because sometimes the greatest lessons in life do not come from success. They come from the quiet sacrifices of people the world often overlooks. If this story touched your heart, please like the video. Share it with someone who believes in kindness. Comment your thoughts below and subscribe to DRAMEXSTORY so more people can hear stories that remind us what truly matters. Because sometimes, a small bag of food can reveal a truth powerful enough to change a life forever.